Everybody, welcome back. I'm the Strategy Professor, and this is going to be part 2 of our patch notes video. So if you didn't check out part 1, go back, check it out. I talk a lot about the dragon changes and jungle changes in that video, but it was going to be kind of long, so we just went ahead and split it up and decided to do items and runes in this one. So if you haven't watched that yet, be sure, go back, check that out. Stop by the stream sometime if you like as well. It starts at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every night on YouTube. Usually goes till about 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Super friendly, very chill, welcoming community. I try to be as interactive as possible with the chat, and I'm more than happy to, discuss any new builds that you have in mind, or if you have any questions, or if you just want to, you found something cool and you just want to share it with everybody on the stream, we'd love to hear about it. So just come by, hang out. It's a good time, and be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this content, and check out the I'm going to do tier lists for all of the roles, so support the 80 carry tier list. I'll probably try to do by tomorrow, and then I'll try to get through the other 3 over the next couple of days as well. So I'm going to just be hitting you with a ton of content for the preseason, so be sure to check it all out. And I am going to be streaming pretty much every day. That's not like, I might miss a couple of days around like Christmas and Thanksgiving. I'll keep you posted about that. But I am streaming for the vast majority of the preseason every day, out here having fun, trying to learn some stuff, trying to get ready for next season. So be sure to come by, check all that out. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So, Dustblade's basically the same. They're giving it pretty much 175 more gold worth of attack damage in exchange for losing the blackout. So that's going to give you more kill threat, which is great, but you're going to have a harder time controlling wards. I think most assassins would probably take that. So overall, pretty good. Relatively power neutral, slightly higher kill potential. Youmuu's basically the same. You can now run through units, which is really handy if there's like a huge minion wave. And you're just trying to run straight through it to get to the back line, then that can be pretty handy. So, there will be some edge cases where that's, going to be very relevant. But for the most part, it's probably not going to matter too much. Now, Edge of Night, they just completely gutted this item. It was already a really rare item to get. I think a lot of people would just get this as, like, if you already have Dustblade plus Ghostblade plus, like, Black Cleaver, then you might get Edge of Night on top of this on, like, a Zed or a Talon or something. I mean, it was handy sometimes, like having that on-demand shield did help stop some of the CC from landing on you, especially if the enemy team didn't have a lot of CC. Then that could be pretty handy, but they've completely changed that, so it's losing 5 excuse me, still got a bit of a cold here. And it's losing 5 attack damage, 8 lethality, which is massive. It's almost half of its lethality. It is getting health, but I mean, who's asking for health on a lethality item? This doesn't make a lot of sense. And then the spell shield now is it's just like Banshees. So basically it can be popped by poke, which sucks. Like, I think it's bad. If you were really good at sort of preparing your attack with Knight's Veil, then I think that was a lot better to have that on-demand shield that's ready to go whenever you're ready for that flank, whenever you're ready for that engage. So overall, I don't see a lot of people getting this item, and maybe... But I think more people will go either Umbral Glaive or Sanguine Blade, the new items. We'll talk about that here in just a second. But yeah, I think this is going to be out of the rotation. I just think most people are not going to get that item. Okay, so Sanguine Blade is... I think this item could potentially be really OP. Especially on something like... I just saw this, and immediately what jumped out of my mind is Quinn. I mean, Quinn's already been kind of coming back into the meta a little bit. I think she's had a little bit of a higher win rate. I don't know if I have this up here, but I know I've been seeing her a bit more. She's been a bit more successful. I think that you saw her like a couple of times in Pro. I don't remember at Worlds. So yeah, I mean, she's rocking about a 53% win rate. So she's not like super popular right now, but if some of those other like top lane... range champions get nerfed, which it looks like they're going to in the preseason through some of the other changes, then I think she could come out on top. So it's 3,000 gold. Okay, so 50 attack damage. We can do the math here. I think I've done it before. I think it's basically cost neutral if you don't have Blood Pursuit, and then when you do have it, I think that you get about, it's 150% efficient from what I saw on the PBE. So we'll see if the math is about the same on it. So... attack damage is worth 35 each, so times 50, that takes us to 1750. Lifesteal, I believe, is... I don't remember offhand. I want to say like 35. It 37 and a half actually. Um, so 37 and a half. So 15. So 1750. 1750. Okay. So 2313. She knows where it is. She told me that too. 2313. I think lethality. I think it's like 23. I'm just gonna say it's 23. Or actually, we're doing it. Damn it! What was the number? I think it was. It was 20. Damn it! Was it 2350? Sorry, I got distracted. Looking over there. We'll just call it 38. So 570. Okay. 2320, and then the 10 lethality we'll just say is plus 230. Okay, that's actually not that efficient if you don't have Blood Pursuit. So maybe they nerfed it a little bit. So we'll see. So divided by... It's only 85% efficient if you're near other people. What it looks like. It doesn't have... I thought it had CDR on it. Okay, so it does not have the CDR. But then if you get the Blood Pursuit, you get the 8 extra lethality. So 2550, 8 extra lethality. 2734, and then I think attack speed is 25 each. I believe. So 40 times 25 is 1,000. So that right there, even at the lowest level, divided by is 124%. So even at like level 1, it's going to be 124% efficient, and then I think once you get up to like 60, it's going to be even more so. So basically, if you can be isolated a lot, then it's going to be really strong. But if you're not isolated, then it's not strong. So this would be great for a split pusher. I mean, that's strange for lethality because lethality typically wants to do burst damage. Now, burst is isolation sometimes. So, I mean, for solo laners, this could be pretty nice too. Like if it's mid lane and there's not a gank around. So, I think you will see this item. But, like, those types of champs, they don't care as much about, like, attack speed. That's the thing. Is a lot of lethality users don't care about the attack speed. Maybe something like... So, like... thinking top lane Quinn, maybe something like Vayne would like this, like a split pushing Vayne. It's kind of weird, but you see that sometimes. I don't know if someone like Jax is going to get something like this. I feel like, because a lot of his damage is magic damage, so I don't know that the lethality would matter. I feel like, I mean, he's definitely going to get Trinity first. Shojin is removed from the game. Spoiler alert. We'll talk about that here in a second. But I feel like there are other things he could get. I mean, he could do Gunblade might be what he goes to, or Gensu's. I don't know. I feel like there are other things. I don't know. We'll have to think about what it'll be. So Quinn's definitely a winner there. And any sort of other ADC is trying to run top lane. Maybe Vayne. People that really want the attack speed and that also care about, that do mostly physical damage. Anyway, so I think there will be some broken cases for this in the top lane, probably. Maybe mid lane. I just don't think that like Zed and Talon and things like that are going to want it, but maybe they will. I mean, they'll probably get as like a third item, but I can't imagine they would want this over Dustblade or Ghostblade early, but... Okay, Umbral Glaive. So this one, I'm trying to remember the value on that. So it's 2,400. So the 50 attack damage is going to be, what, 1,750. We've done that math a lot here. 12 lethality. Oh, she mad? Then cooldown reduction, it's about 270. So that's 2,300. So it is undervalue. You know, it's still going to be 95 or 96%. So it's about at value. And then you get the blackout. So, yeah, obviously something like this is going to look appealing to things like Pike or Senna, potentially. But I don't know that I'm sold on. I mean, maybe you'll still get it, but it's like the enchanter items are still like, most of them are like 150% efficient or more, and this is still going to be way less. And I just don't know. I mean, maybe you still get this. Maybe you get this as a third item instead of Sanguine Blade on someone like Talon, or yeah, these are just going to be way better. So it's like maybe you get this third item. I think they're trying to like make something that maybe supports would like, who want to pay for blackout. I mean, having basically a second sweeper is really strong though. So I could maybe see that on Senna or something, you know, like maybe Athene's into, or Umbral Blade into Athene's or something like that. I could potentially see it. But yeah, these are just seem very situational. These will be broken on certain champs, but I don't think it's going to be standard on all Lethality champs, although I could be wrong about that. And then Umbral Glaive, similarly, will be okay mostly on supports that want to run it. But anyways, okay, they're taking out this area to Dirk where you get the bonus damage after you kill an enemy. Okay, I don't think it matters that much. In some cases, maybe it will. I don't know, dear. Just get a couple more. They're in the closet. Okay, the support items. It's hard to say on this. The more I read it and the more I look about it, the more I think that it's bad. I was kind of excited because it does save a lot of gold, but there are some major problems to this as well. So first of all, they're taking away coin, so you have to choose either Frostfang or Relic. Fine, you know, that's not going to impact high level play on most champions, but you know, it will, especially at lower level play. Coin was like guaranteed wards, guaranteed items quickly. So the biggest hit to this is going to be to the vision game, especially at high level play like pro play and challenger, is that your vision is going to be extremely nerfed in the mid game because you cannot buy into 4 wards, and that's almost immediately what everybody gets. In top end games, you know, a lot of people play tanks because tanks can face check bushes easier. Historically, it's very rare that you see enchanters, other than like maybe Rakan because he's very safe. But a lot of the stuff that you're going to see, at least historically, are going to be things that are durable and sturdy relic shield users. And they typically like to rush, you know, the 4 ward item immediately, and they get a lot of benefits out of that. But now you can't rush it. You have to charge it. You know, you have to have 1,500 gold charged up, which depending on what's going on, I mean, it's going to take a while. Like, you're not going to have that until 20, 25 minutes a lot of times. I mean, sometimes if you're stuck in a bad lane, you can't even get your Frostfang charged up to 500 by 15 minutes if you're just completely getting zoned. And that's only 500 gold. So I think that the vision game is going to be a lot tougher. Now, in most ELO brackets, you know, low diamond and lower, it didn't really matter that much. You didn't upgrade your forward item for a long time because people don't contest you as much for vision, and you can just spend your gold on other stuff. But I think it will matter at high end. So it does matter in some situations, and it definitely matters at challenger and high end in terms of the vision game. Now, another thing that kind of sucks is they are removing the early game power. Now, this is pretty much what they're saying, is that they want to knock down early game power, but they're also knocking down mid game power. However, you are getting gold. So champions that scale off of gold better are going to benefit. And the highest scaling champions with gold are, that's right, you guessed it, Brandon, Zyra. No, it's actually not. It's Janna, Soraka, and the Enchanters. Those are the ones that scale the best off of gold, believe it or not. I know everyone's going to think it's the mages. I mean, the mages are good. The thing is, their items are expensive, right? You know, they have the Leandries, it's like 3,000 something gold. I mean, if you're going like Lethality Senna or Lethality Pike, those items are expensive. But the support items, the enchanter items, are so powerful and have so much synergy with each other. When you get something like Athene's plus Redemption, or you get something like, you know, Ardent Censor plus Athene's, or just really any of them that are all combined together, like their stats just work so well together, and they scale so hard with the stat plus healing and shielding and AP that, you know, once the enchanter gets like 2 or 3 items, it's almost impossible to blow somebody up with a lot of the mages. So I think that's going to heavily favor enchanters early on. Although I think that it will favor the mages some. You know, the Zyra, the Brands, they're going to like it. Pike, Senna, those types of champs, because they do actually scale pretty well. You know, the champions that are going to hate this the most are the tanks, because tanks really don't scale that well. You know, you've got your Zeeks, you've got your maybe your Knight's Vow or your Locket or something, but that just doesn't really hold up to a lot of the other items that are out there. And so that really sucks for tanks. Like, tanks really want a low gold economy, because that means their CC is at a much higher premium. You know, when nobody has any money, you know, Blitzhunk is the most powerful thing around. But if everybody's got 3 items, then something like a Soraka ult is going to become the most powerful thing around. So this is really going to favor champions that scale hard with gold, because you are earning a lot of extra gold off of this. So you're giving up early pressure. Once again, that's going to favor enchanters too. Like, yes, enchanters do like to poke with their spell thieves and things like that, but now you can't heal their poke if you're a tank. The tanks are really going to be the big losers in the bot lane off of this, I think, because you can't heal anymore through it. So, like, that poke is going to stick to Thresh and Leona. I guess Thresh didn't get Relic Shield anyways, but like Nautilus and Leona, it's going to stick to them. They can't heal now off of this. And, you know, the mage type of champions, your Zyras and your Brands, that really want to poke with Airy and Scorch and and the Spell Thieves, they're also going to get nerfed out on that. So enchanters, a lot of enchanters are fine with just kind of scaling up. So yeah, they'll do a little bit of poke, but you know, they're not going to miss the proc on Spell Thieves as much as someone like Zyra or Brand will. So I think that's going to favor enchanters too, to an extent. But yeah, they're removing the heal and they're removing the poke damage off of that in exchange for getting, you know, basically 1,400 gold over time. They have some new anti-poaching. We'll see if that works mathematically. Basically, yeah, if you farm more than 20 CS in 5 minutes, that's 3 waves out of every 10 waves, then it's going to reduce the gold by 50% over a certain period of time. Now, another thing that's also going to benefit enchanters here is that they are removing the mana regen on it. Now, you might say, well, why does that favor enchanters? Because enchanters get a lot of fairy charms anyway, so it doesn't matter. You know, a lot of times you're either getting Athene's Redemption or Mikhail's First or Ardent Censor. All of those are going to have regeneration, and typically you already have fairly high regeneration on the enchanters. And a lot of times, you know, if you're thinking about like Soraka at least, their spells aren't that expensive. Now, like Nami and Sona, their spells get a little bit more expensive, but you're already going to have a lot of regen on it. But other champions that don't get a lot of fairy charms, your Brands, your Zyras, are going to have a much harder time with this. So it is going to hurt the enchanters a little bit, but it's going to hurt other people more because they're not going to have more regen. Now, you also lose 10% CDR on the level 2, which that sucks too. Now, you are losing a little bit of ability power as well, so you are losing 5 ability power, but you're gaining health, 70 health, which 5 ability power is worth about 100 gold, and 70 health is worth probably like 170 gold, so that's probably worth, I mean, you'd rather have the AP than the flat health, but at least it's, you know, cost positive for you. Losing the 10% CDR is rough. So champions that really rely on their CDR are going to have a problem with this. People that can't really get items that have a lot of CDR, items that are expensive. So this kind of neutralizes the enchanter advantage a little bit, because Spell Thieves, or Frostfang rather, used to give you 10% CDR, and then Targon's did not, the tank version of it. So this is going to neutralize that a little bit. So that one does go a bit in favor of the tanks. But, you know, enchanters can opt into Ionian boots if they want to. You know, that's already something that's very common on Soraka. And that means that you're still going to get to your maximum CDR fairly quickly. You know, by the time you get your third big item. So you'll have your boots, your third big item. You can also go Transcendence if you really want the extra CDR a bit faster. So, you know, that's kind of a big deal, but being able to save the 500 gold and lose the 10% CDR is probably worth it. So, ultimately, yeah, I think that's going to affect enchanters a little bit more. Now, Shard of True Ice, once you get this transform, this is actually pretty good. You do get a lot of ability power. So people that can charge this up quickly, so like poke type of champions or people that can trigger it off of Frostfang really quickly, that actually does give you quite a lot of stats, way more than it used to. So like 25 more. It's just going to take you a while to farm up to the 1500 to get it. But it's pretty good once you finish it. And there is an AP version and an AD version, which is the sickle here, which is going to give you flat AD damage and health. So, you know, obviously that's going to be good on someone like Senna and Pyke. And they're going to like that, potentially. Now, the other side of that is the Relic Shield line. Now, once again, I think this is getting shanked pretty hard. Because you're not going to be able to heal off of Relic. You're not going to have the 50% health regen, which definitely does add up. And the big kicker here is it's always 45 seconds for 3 charges. It's always max 3 charges in 45 seconds. And this is a massive, massive nerf, okay? Because once you upgrade Targon's prior to the preseason, it would go down to 30 seconds. So it would be 3 charges, but it would charge in 30 seconds, which made it charge, you know, 30% faster. But now it's 45 seconds, which is awful. Awful. I mean, yeah, you can get a cannon, you know, every wave. So that's going to give you whatever, like 70 gold every wave. But if you're triggering this Frostfang, you know, the 3 triggers on Frostfang for 15 a pop, that's giving you 90. So now, even in the best case scenario, you're getting a cannon every single wave, which is going to be worth, I don't know how much they're worth early. It's like 60 or 70. If you get the cannon, you're still going to be losing out on a lot of gold. And the reality is, you're not going to be able to get every single cannon most of the time, or you're going to have to wait and have it be really inefficient because cannons only come out once a minute. So every now and then, you know, you might need to take just a melee minion. If you only get a melee minion every minute, if you don't get the cannon, then now you're only getting like 20 gold in a minute. If you get a melee minion and a half, you're only getting, you know, like 30 gold in a minute. So it's really, really low. Like, you have to get every single cannon. Like, your ADC can't troll you. The enemy can't zone you off of it. Like, you have to get it every single time, or you're just going to be screwed on your gold generation. So I think that's actually really, really bad. And it's just gonna be terrible. Like, they need to make it the 30 seconds when you get it upgraded. It's just gonna take forever to charge it all the way up, I think. So I think that's something that's huge that a lot of people haven't been talking about. So yeah, all around, I just think it's a big nerf to the Targon's line. It does give you more health, I think, at the end. That gives you like some health and ability power. So I would go in almost every case, unless you're like a hard tank, I would go for the more aggressive version that triggers off of attacking the enemy most of the time, even though it doesn't do the damage anymore. So if you're getting like the full-on tank version here, I mean, it's only 300 health though with some attack damage. I don't know. So overall, I think it's a nerf in the early game for sure. I think it's probably a nerf in the mid game, but then later in the game, like 15 or 20 minutes plus, it's a buff. But a lot of times you wouldn't upgrade anyways. In like most like low diamond and platinum games, you wouldn't upgrade to tier 4 anyways. So I'm not, you know, so it's really it's really like 500 gold. You're paying 500 gold to give up a lot of your early game pressure is kind of what it comes down to. So you do get a nice spike later on, like getting that extra 25, you know, value worth of AP and getting that 4th ward, you know, around the 25 or 30 minute mark. That is nice, but it's like, I don't know. I feel like, is that really going to matter when you're already on 3 items? I mean, I guess maybe it does, but I think overall it's a nerf to support. You know, the more that I've looked at it, I'm pretty sure it's a nerf to support. However, once again, it is going to help out enchanters more than anything else because it's going to nerf the other supports more. Okay, Shirelia's. Now, this is an interesting item change. I had at first been really opposed to this. I thought it was pretty trash taking the AP off of it. But, value-wise, it's a decent proposition for some champions. So it's only 2,050 gold, which right there, that saves you 200 gold. You're getting 100 health there, which is going to be, you know, like 170 health. So that's going to be like 420 health, or 420 gold value. You're getting 10% healing and shielding, which is another 370. So what, 420 plus 370. And you're basically getting 2 Rejuve bees, which is another 100. So that's ultimately going to give you... I think I added that up wrong. That can't be right. So 370 plus 300. Oh, thank you, Rory. Is that a cake? Oh, Plus, what do we say? 170 for the extra health, plus the 200 flat gold. Good job, Rory. Okay, so 1040. So you're basically getting 1,040 gold in exchange for 40 ability power. Now, 40 ability power is worth about 840 gold. It's 21 each, roughly. So you're gaining like 200 gold value to an extent, but I would say overall, I don't know. Like the health regen on a lot of champs is not going to matter that much. Now you are also losing the 5% movement speed. And I think movement speed, I don't remember what a percentage movement speed is worth offhand. It's probably worth, I don't know, like 20 or something like that. So it's basically cost neutral, I think. It's very, very close to cost neutral. And you're sacrificing movement speed and ability power, and you're gaining health regen, and healing and shielding power.
I got more.
You got more?
Okay.
So I think on like someone like Soraka, this might be a good deal just because the health regen is actually relevant on her late game. But on a lot of champions, it's not going to matter that much. And the 100 like health is like might matter, but most of the time you'd rather have AP. Is that right, Rory?
Mommy made it.
Mommy made it? So that could be good. Now, one thing that it didn't say on the PBE that could be useful is the range goes from 700 to 1,000. So this is a pretty big deal. This is going to let a lot more people around you benefit from the active. I wish they took it down to a 60-second active, but I guess that's okay. So, yeah, I think if you're running Redemption, you're getting triple value out of the stat plus healing and shielding, and AP does not affect your Redemption at all. There's no AP ratio on a Redemption. So if you're going a champion that runs Redemption, or that's going to run Redemption, which a lot of them do, and you need Engage, you have a bunch of meatballs on your team, you got like a Malachi, a Garen, a Darius, that kind of stuff that you want to boost in. I could see this coming up as like maybe a 3rd item or something. Maybe even as early as the 2nd, although I guess you could go Redemption plus Shirelia's, but it's probably better to go either Athene's or Mikhail's first and then Redemption and then get this 3rd. But I could see this maybe in the rotation, particularly for Soraka, because she has such a huge benefit from healing and shielding power. Maybe Janna. Sona would probably like this. So we'll see. I think it'll be okay. I don't think we're going to see it on a lot of other champions, though. Maybe like Ivern. We'll see. I think the big one here will be Soraka. Now,
Let's go in the living room.
she's singing.
Let's go in the living room.
Is that right, Rory?
That can work. You want to try this cheesy potatoes?
What are you doing, Rory?
A dog. I flew dog. A blue dog, that's right.
So anyways, I think it'll be very situational. Most champions won't want it. The champion that would want it most, I think, would be Soraka. Yeah, it's a blue dog. I think, there had been some, like, who was running this? I mean, Vlad would run it sometimes, so I think it's going to be a nerf on anyone that's, like, I think Vlad would run this. Singed, I think, occasionally would run this. There were a couple other weirdos that would, like, run this in other lanes, but for the most part, it just wasn't really used that much, and this will mean that it's almost certainly relegated to supports, so... I really wish they would change this 100% health regen over to mana regen, and that would help out a ton, so that would scale with Athene's a lot better. Make it a lot more useful. Or take this to like a 60-second cooldown just so the active had more value, but overall, I think it's decent. What's the overall value of this item anyways? Let me see, so we got 300. So it's basically cost neutral. The stats... not going to be as good a lot of the time, although the baseline cost being cheaper is nice. Plus 370, plus healing and shielding is 37 gold each. Health regen, I believe, is 2 Reju beads, that's 300. Reju beads, that's one of the worst, or health regen is one of the worst stats out there. What was that, 800, plus 300, plus 370, plus 100% mana regen is 500. Yeah, I think I got everything. Oh, and the cooldown reduction plus 270. So it's already 110% efficient, not including the active. And that's what I was talking about earlier. Like, most Enchanter items are just better. Like, this is one of the worst ones out there. And it's still going to be more efficient than most other items in the game, or at least a lot of other items. Okay, enough support stuff. So, check out the support tier list. I'll run down a lot of that in a lot more depth. I'll theory craft it a bit more, talk a lot more about specific champions. But overall, I think the support changes are going to be a nerf to supports in the early game. In the mid game, although in the late game on champions that scale really well with gold, it's going to be better. I think best user is going to be, something like Soraka, Sona, Janna. Okay, let's talk Energizer items here. So I really like these changes. I think, they're trying to build they're trying to think of another way to build ADCs so that you have like. Because the thing with ADCs right now, and this has historically been a problem, they tried to fix this last summer by bringing mages to the bot lane to try to bring more diversity, is like ADCs compete for the same role so much, ranged auto attack damage dealer, basically that deals physical damage. There's not a lot else out there. Like, some of them burst, some of them have some strong ultis, they have a little bit of identity, but in general, there's a lot less diversity in the ADC role than almost any other role. It's like, historically, it's almost always, there's like maybe 3 of them that are very, like, S-class ADCs, and then other stuff just doesn't get played. Versus if you look at, like, mid lane or top lane, jungle, even support, you're going to find a lot more viable picks more often. And a lot of that has to do with the itemization. It's usually there's going to be like one core AD item that's just better than everything else, and it's just whoever uses that item the best is going to win. So, historically that's been like Infinity Edge. Whoever uses crit better is going to be better. Sometimes you get the on-hit. Ever since the Ginsu rework, it was whoever could use Ginsu on that rework, right? So you would see, your Varus's, your Kog'Maws.
I lost my mom.
You lost your mom?
She's in the room.
She's in the other room? So they're trying to make multiple items that can all compete to be not only a top tier item, because eventually there's just going to be one item that's mathematically the best if AD carries only have one role, which is to be the late game, like, highest damage dealing range champion on 3 items. Then it's always going to come down to which one's the best. You lost your mommy. She's in there talking to you, Rory. She's in there. So now they're trying to differentiate a little bit more. And with this Storm Razor change, with the Energize effects, they're trying to say, you know what? We want there to be a mid-game build. So it doesn't just have to be early game, you know, steamroll the lane with like Draven or, you know, things like that. We want someone who's going to have a much stronger mid-game build.
Dad,
Is that right,
my
Ray?
mom. I love my mom.
Are you wanting me to go with you to find her?
Okay.
Are you trying to trick me into going out there with you, Rory?
Okay.
Okay. We'll play in a second. I gotta finish this video, okay, Rory? Oops.
I dropped.
You dropped it? Okay. So here are a few things, and I really like this change. I think this is good because it's going to bring back some champions that I think have just kind of fallen out of the meta a little bit. Because I feel like the Infinity Edge champions are pretty good right now. You've got your, some stuff starting to come back into the meta. But I think this is going to be nice, especially for kind of like early game burst champions. So the Energize effect, now it always stacks. So all of the damage stacks once again. I thought that was a really dumb change how they changed how it didn't stack. Energized charges from moving are increased by 20%, but multiple attacks are decreased by 50%. So that means in active combat, in team fights, you're going to proc your energized charge 30% less. Pretty much. Sort of. It's not exactly that, but if you're like attack moving like every single time, it's going to be something roughly that. But in the laning phase, if you're just walking around and occasionally trying to get a shot on them whenever you have your energized, then you could potentially trigger it more often. And energize effects now always work on the turrets, so it always does on-hit damage to turrets, which is going to be really important. We'll talk about that in just a second. So these are huge buffs to the Energizer effect in general. Now they have removed the rapid fire cannon where you get increased energized charge rate. So almost always Energizer builds in the past, and Energizer was the go-to build. If you don't remember this is like all of 2017 with the Ardent Sensor meta. It would pretty much always be Infinity Edge, rapid fire, static shiv. Like, it would always go double crit item, the Infinity Edge, and then double zeal item crit, usually with fleet footwork for the Energizer build. But now it doesn't charge 25% faster. So you're losing 25% charge here, and you're also losing 30% charge in active combat. So this is going to be much more burst and a lot less sustained damage over time. But they are giving it a lot more damage in general. So if you look at the Kerchai Shard, the very basic one here, it's cost you 100 more gold, but it does 80 damage. So for 100 more gold, which is like a 17% more gold, you're basically doing 60% more damage. So it's doing 80, which is 30 more than 50, which is 60% of 50. So you're doing 60% more damage for 1/6 more gold, which is about 17%. That's pretty good bargain. That's pretty good bargain. Word on the street. So you pop somebody for 80 off of this. I mean, that's basically a crit early game. That's like a guaranteed crit. Pretty much. Right? Because, you know, early game, you know, if you get this on your first back, which I think might be common on a lot of champions who want to rush, like, I think Static Shiv on some champions, particularly like Sivir, could be really good. Or even someone like Tryndamere or Yasuo might love this. 80 damage is massive. That's a massive amount of damage early on. Because, like, you know, with just like a normal AD, if you just got double longsword, like your auto attack, you probably have 80 AD total. And this is doing 80 damage on top of your auto attack damage. So that's that's pretty crazy, especially on someone like a Caitlyn. I think Caitlyn's going to be a huge beneficiary of this stuff. But yeah, that's a big buff. And then all that builds in all of these items. So basically, Storm Razor now is going to be a pretty strong item. It's got 55 attack damage, 25 crit strike, 15% attack speed. The energized damage is 120. So that's like a crit and a half. It's huge. And the slow does a bigger slow for half a second though, so it's still a pretty decent slow. But just you know, money wise here. Now I'm not sure what on hit damage. It's hard to quantify the energized damage because it's on hit, but it only triggers every now and then. I guess you would quantify it by how much of a Kerchai shard is it worth. It's worth 1.5 of these, so I guess that would be the way that you would model it. As Kerchai shard, does that have probably spelled that wrong. Does it have attack speed too, or is it just straight up? Yeah, it's also got attack speed on it. Okay, so attack speed I think is worth 25 each. So that's 375. And it's gonna cost, yeah, 700. So they've already changed the number on this. Does 80. Okay, so it's already cost efficient there. So the, what is it, 370. Okay, so 325 divided by 80. That's how much damage. So it's about 4. So 4 gold is 1 Energizer on hit damage. So 4 times 120 there. So that's 480. So we've got 480 plus so 480 15 or yeah 15 times 25 plus 480, so that's 855. Okay, so that's everything except for the critical strike. Now critical strike has been changed as well. Oh, it'll just tell us here. $120. Okay. So that's okay. So yeah, they do the math for us here, which is nice. So 3,100 plus what was it? 480. It's 111, and that doesn't include the slow that you get whenever you're fully stacked on hit, and the fact that like that extra damage can scale, so you can get extra range with the rapid fire, or you can do all of that extra damage on static shiv. So I mean that's basically Infinity Edge. I think Infinity Edge is 112 also, and that doesn't include the crit modifier, the 25% crit modifier. Just like this doesn't include the extra scaling with the other items. So it's on par. Like, it's pretty close to Infinity Edge in terms of efficiency. Now, it's not going to do as much sustained damage, but the burst is going to be really high because each one of these other items now is going to give you 120 damage as well. So, you know, you get all of them together, that's 360 damage that is going to gain, you know, the 150 extra range, and it's going to attack 7 different targets in a team fight or on a minion wave. So and it's going to apply the slow to everybody. So it's going to have some pretty nasty like effects to it. So yes, if you're just sitting there like just auto attacking down a tank, it's not going to be as strong as like Infinity Edge plus a bunch of different crit items. But in the mid game and in the early game, I think this is going to be extremely strong. I mean, the static shiv, it can no longer crit, but it always does all of the bonus damage. So that means that this static shiv can do 360 damage to 7 targets. So it just basically is going to like one-shot a minion wave. Whenever you static shiv, it's going to be pretty close when you get all of these items. And these items are much cheaper than other items out there. Now, And it can proc on turrets, so the extra damage or the lightning, I think, can bounce to turrets as well. What are you doing, Rory? You having fun? Now, I'm wondering if Fleet plus... Because it says that all of this stuff... Like, does this Storm Razor, does this slow bounce to everybody?
A cake. A cake. A cake.
No, I don't think that's how it works. I think just the damage... I think it's just your primary person. How does it read? Yeah, okay, it's just your primary person. So Fleet Footwork also would not heal off everybody. Now, how is this going to work with Senna? Because her Q does hit everybody with on hit. So does every single person... Would every single person trigger Static Shiv? Basic attack deals 120 on hit. And it bounces. So would it bounce like... So if you hit 3 people, would all of them bounce to like 3 other people with the Q? I don't know. I don't know how this is going to interact with Senna. Because Senna's Q is supposed to trigger on-hit effects everywhere. I mean, the thing is, it on-hit, like, I'm thinking, like, Ezreal. Would Ezreal want something like this? Like a static shit? I mean, that sounds stupid because Ezreal's Q can't crit, but, I mean, if it's triggering that on-hit and bouncing to all targets, like something like a static, he probably doesn't want it. Is that right? Is this the card, Rory? So, I don't know. We'll see. I'll think about it for the ADC video. I'll do some more research on it. We'll ask the stream tonight. But, yeah, so that I think this is going to be really strong. So, I think a static opener, like, or a Storm Razor opener could actually be very, very strong for wave clear. So, I think someone like Sivir would like this. Sivir would really like static. I think that someone like, you know, Caitlyn might even want to open with, like, a Kerchise into... Storm Razor, or you could open just like Kerchise into Infinity Edge and then go Rapid Fire Cannon after that if you want to. But I think the Kerchise opener on someone who has a lot of range or someone who can trigger it very easily on other people is going to be really, really strong. Like this static shit with these 7 bounces and guaranteed 120 damage immediately with Sivir is just going to like instantly like blow up the wave. Like you're just never going to have a wave against her again. So I could see like Static Shiv opener into like Essence Reaver or something. And don't forget, this item's really cheap too. It's only 2,600 gold. So I think that has the potential to be really, really strong. So stay tuned. I'll talk about that more in the 80 carry tier list. But in general, I like it. It's adding some extra choices in there. If you want that mid game power spike team fight, you know, with your Static Shiv plus Storm Razor, then you can have an impact. You can be really strong early game, especially bully champions. So Caitlyn's an obvious one. Jhin might like this too. I mean, Jhin could start off with a rapid fire with his crit up, with the rapid fire doing that extra 120 damage plus his bonus damage on the crit. Could be pretty crazy early on. I don't know if he would want Storm Razor. It's possible. I mean, he likes AD. He likes crit. I mean, attack speed's not his favorite, but they lowered the attack speed in order to give it crit. So, I mean, Jhin might be back to something like Storm Razor Rapid Fire Infinity or something like that. Static Shiv can't crit. I think I said that, but that's one thing to keep in mind. It can no longer crit. So that does kind of suck, but at the same time, you're getting like basically a triple crit if you get all of the Energizer items anyways. You're doing triple damage. So, oh hi, who's there? Who is that, Rory? So that could be good. Come in! Now, Cloak of Agility is getting a huge buff. They're getting rid of Baller's Gloves. They're giving it 5% extra value. So anyone that, like, loves crit, like, Jin's going to love this. Trendemir's going to love this. Everybody's going to love this item that loves to get crit. Sivir's going to love this. Yasuo. My god, Yasuo. Like, you just get one item with Yasuo now. You just get, like, your Static Shiv Rush or whatever, and then one extra crit cloak, and you're already at 100%. I mean, Yasuo might literally just go double crit cloak, 100% crit right there, and then just build it into something later. I mean, maybe. I don't know Yasuo builds, but that's totally possible now. If you just want 100% crit for 1,600 gold, you can probably do that now as Yasuo. So I think it's a huge buff to him. So yeah, that's a massive, massive buff to crit. So this is sketchy. Like this doesn't even cost anymore. Let that sink in. It does not cost anymore. So you're getting what would have been a 200 gold extra value on an item that costs 800, and it still costs the same amount. Okay, so Zeal is costing 200 more now, though, because it includes Cloak of Agility. So it's going to have 10% extra crit, which used to be valued at 40 each. So that's 400 extra gold value. Now, it's been revalued now that Cloak of Agility has moved. But I'm just telling you what the old valuation used to be. I guess it'd be valued now at 32 gold instead of 40. But even at 32 gold, you know, gaining 10 extra is 320 value right there. Now you are losing the 3% attack speed, so you're losing 75 gold off of that. So what is that? You're still getting 245 gold worth of value on it for the price of 200. So you're still getting an extra 20% value, but it is going to take longer to build it. So, you know, that is a thing. It's got a more annoying back. You have to wait on a Cloak of Agility, so you have to have a better back timing than you would with Brawler Gloves. So there are some drawbacks, but ultimately, I think that's a big, big boon for a lot of people out there. Okay, they're removing Spear of Shojin. Good. This item is just really abusive. I mean, it's a cool idea, but it's just playing around ultimates, and it's just going to be abused. You know, Jax and Renekton were just too strong with this. And that's what has me a little worried about Windrake, which we talked about in the last video. I think just, like, heavily favoring a certain type of champion, like something that favors, like, things with really strong ultimates, like the Cloud Drake CDR cap, can be kind of problematic in some instances. I mean, just imagine, like, Karthus getting his hand on multiple Cloud Drakes. They're still going to have Ulti Hunter in the game. I don't know. Like, they're getting rid of Presence of Mind, but they'll still have Ulti Hunter, so I don't know. But yeah, I think that getting rid of Spear of Shojin, it's just like, it's one of those items where sometimes if you make an item that's just like super narrow and not many people use it, there's going to be like some severe abuse cases, and you're going to have to balance around the edge cases, and then you're basically just making an item for like 2 champions, which means it's probably a pretty poorly designed item. But anyway, so they're getting rid of that. They're getting rid of ZZ Rot. I don't like this. I wish they would have a macro item. I mean, they're saying it enables split push strategies that don't involve enough champion interaction. That's a part of League of Legends, right? Like, split pushing is really important, and that's like a really cerebral part of the game. Like, you don't just want everyone to always run in 5v5, or that's going to severely restrict the champions that are viable in different metas. Like, you know, in a perfect meta, you would have sort of team fight, like mid-game team fight comps be available, like early split push comps be available, like early poke comps, like split pick, 1-3-1, 4-1. You know, there should be all these different things coming at each other so strategies can really collide and people can, you know, jockey for different macro priorities. Like, that's what makes League so cool, is that there are like so many different ways you can play the game and master the game, and that helps keep a wide variety of champions when the meta's in a healthy game. It keeps a lot of champions viable. You know, if you don't ever have a meta, if everyone has to team fight, then champions like Tryndamere just don't exist. You know, and some people would be okay with that. But I don't know. I think split pushing's okay. It was already a really weird item even before any of the nerfs on it. Like, nobody ever got this. It was like Singed sometimes might get it. Are you okay, Rory?
I'm okay.
You're okay? Good. So, you know, I think that I don't like it. I wish they had a macro item. Like, they've gotten rid of Banner. Now they've gotten rid of ZZ Rot. Just balance around it. I mean, I think it's fair. If you're paying a lot for this item, and it doesn't give you any good teamfight presence, but it gives you good macro presence, so be it. I think that's a cost. I mean, just make it like you like have Redemption, like how they've balanced Redemption. It's a supremely good team fighting item where the stats suck. Like, if you don't play around its active well enough, then it's not going to be a good item for you. Like, it's really not worth the cost unless you're hitting multiple people with it. Now, that has, you know, a little bit more skill expression where you have to aim it and there's more interplay and stuff like that. But I think that you could do that with a macro item. Just give it really bad stats so that you are punished hard if you don't use the macro portion of it. To just like make it a support item that no one else is really going to want. Make it like 2,300 gold. I think they could have done a similar thing with Banner of Command. 2,300 gold. You know, lowball it. Make it like 80% efficient or something like that. You know, make it, I don't know, like 30 armor, 30 magic resist, 10% CDR, and just throw the active on it. And boom, there you have it. I mean, what would that be worth? Would that be like a really good exact number? So 30, it might be kind of low, times 20, 600, times 2. Magic resist is going to be worth slightly less, but that's 1,200. And then CDR plus 10% CDR is going to be about 270. So that's going to be kind of lowball. I mean, I guess you could make it like 40-40. That would make it like 1,800 or 1,900, and then just throw like, I don't know, 150 health on it or something. I don't know, just something like that, or throw some mana on it or something. I think that, or put the movement speed on it. I don't know. I think there's a way to do it where you would make it like 80% efficient. So just make it like 2,300 times like 0.8. Just give it like 1,800 gold worth of stats. You know, slap, like I said, a little mana on it, a little health, something. With just like, you know, 40 stats with 10% CDR, and just make the active like really expensive. So anyways, I don't like it. That's what they did. They said they might bring something back in the fuse, but it'll require more more risk. I mean, maybe like while it's active it debuffs your stats or something. Maybe that's how they could fix it. Like you take, while it's active, it's your soul was channeled into it or something, you know, whatever lore they want to work in, but you take 20% extra damage from all sources or something like that, maybe. I don't know. But I don't know how else they would add risk into a macro item other than making the stats bad. I guess they could increase the cooldown on it by a lot, make it, you know, like a 3-minute cooldown, but anyways, Ohm Record, terrible item. They just got rid of it. That's probably a good call. It's just a noob trap item. Raptor Cloak. Okay, it doesn't build into anything anymore because they got rid of ZZ Rotten Banner, so that makes sense. Runes. So they're getting rid of Kleptomancy, which I think is a good idea. I don't know what they're gonna do with Ezreal. People are asking me on stream. They're probably gonna have to buff him one way or another. You know, I don't know how they would do that. Maybe give him a better AD ratio on his Q. I don't know. They're going to have to do something with Ezreal because he's really going to be in a tough spot after this, I think. But anyways, they're getting rid of that. It was an abuse case in a lot of ranged champions versus melee champions in the top lane. That's the primary reason why they got rid of it. I mean, it was just, I think Victor top lane started doing it last year, maybe earlier this year. And then once people figured that out, you just had everyone and their mom doing that top lane. You know, you'd have Kennen doing it, Victor doing it, Kale was doing it for a while. It's just what they should do, and this is what they've said, like, take out the gold bags. They said there aren't enough, like, actives or just, like, weird consumables. Make consumables for it. Just add more consumables into the game in general. Why not? It could be fun. I don't know. I think that they just really kind of punked out on this. I mean, I think it's good. Why does it have to be something really wacky? Like, why can't it just be, okay, you get free wards and potions early with occasionally, like, some of these pocket elixirs? I mean, why is that not okay? Like, that's fine. That it gives you more sustain in lane to get through tough matchups, gives you more vision control so that you can dominate if you want to be in a dominating matchup. I think that's great. You know, you can just go for early game, early game pressure if you want. It's like a fleet footwork, sort of, for, I don't know. I just feel like it's something that could work even without the gold. If they just increase the frequency of drop on, like, potions, I think you could make it like a lane dominant rune. But they just decided to get rid of it, but whatever. Okay, now we have Omni Stone. I think this looks terrible. I don't know who's going to want to use this. So basically, your Dark Harvest still powers up your other keystones, and your Grasp gives you some health. But it's like, as a ranged champion, who would mostly be the champs that would want something like this, it's going to be like 12-second cooldown. I mean, a lot of these are less than 12 seconds. base on the cooldown. Like press the attack, I think is like a 6-second cooldown, maybe less, 4-second cooldown. Lethal tempo, same thing. It's like a 6-second cooldown. Fleet, you can probably get it charged up in under 12 seconds. Conquer, once again, you can get it charged up under 12 seconds. Airy, it's coming back to you in under 12 seconds. Arcane Comet is a little bit longer. Phase Rush, I think, is like 15 seconds. Electrocute's longer. Predator's longer. Dark Harvest is longer. Hail of Blades is 4 seconds. Grasp is 4. Aftershock's 20. And Glacial Augment's like 6 or something. So, like, I don't know, 75% of these actually come up faster than the other ones. So, I just don't know. Like, you're sacrificing so much here in order to get these up faster, but you're just not going to be able to use them as efficiently on a bunch of different champs. I mean, they need to do something else where it's like every time you use a keystone, you get some kind of like stat or so. I don't know what they would do with it, but I think that like Unsealed Spellbook is already like okay balanced, but still nobody uses it because you can't activate it until like 6 minutes into the game or something. But that's the kind of thing that's good. It gives you extra summoner spells you can use, but then as you use your summoner spells, you get the additional benefit of having a lower cooldown on the additional summoner spells you can get. So so you're getting rewarded for the randomness. So yes, you do have versatility and randomness, and your champion's not going to be able to use all of the summoner skills or summoner spells as effectively in every situation, but you're getting rewarded by having a lot of them, by cheating the cooldown on them and getting them faster than you would otherwise get them. This is not cheating the cooldown. You're actually paying more to get Press the Attack or Lethal Tempo, and there's no guarantee that it's even going to be useful. So I think they'd have to do something like every time you use a keystone, it gives you 1 adaptive damage, or it gives you like 3 health, or something like that. Those numbers might be too big. I don't know. They're probably too big. 1 adaptive damage is worth like 20 gold, so that's probably a bit too big. But it needs to be something like that, or maybe after you use so many of these, once you reach certain thresholds, then you get certain rewards. So after you use like 20 of them, then maybe you get, I don't know, 5 or 10 bonus adaptive damage or something like that. You use like 20 of them and you get like bonus movement speed, like 5% bonus movement speed, or just something like that. So it needs to be some reason that you're getting paid off for using all this random crap that's probably going to be inefficient. Otherwise, I just don't understand why anyone would use this. But anyways, I think people try to toy around with it. Maybe someone will find something that's broken on it, but I have a hard time believing it's going to be that great. Okay, Conquer. This is a huge buff, and I know we're over an hour, but whatever. We've only got a couple of things left. This is awesome. So they're taking off the true damage on it, which is great. So that means that's going to help tanks out a lot, come back into the meta. True damage is a huge mistake to give to everybody. So that's going to be great. And the problem with true damage is because it's not only good against tanks, it's good against everybody. It's good against squishy champions, it's good against tanks, it's good against everybody. So if they wanted something that was actually going to be good against tanks, they need to pick something that's maximum % health damage. That is how you counter tanks, because it doesn't counter squishy champions as much. So they didn't go that route, but they did want to do like an all-purpose, like sustained combat rune. So Press the Attack is like your burst rune, and then this is going to be your sustained combat rune. I like that. So they're basically bringing back Fervor Battle, pretty much. So now this can stack up to 10 times instead of 5 times, and you get more adaptive damage per stack. So now you can get, instead of up to 30, you can get up to 50. So adaptive damage is worth about 20 each. It's like 22. It's basically 1 AP, and then the equivalent of AD, which is cost more in terms of gold, in terms of budget. That's why, something like 10 AD is going to be worth, or 10 AP is going to be worth like 7 AD or something like that. So that's about 1,000 gold at level 18. So early on, if you max stack it and it's like, I don't know, 35, that's going to be 700, 35 times 20. It's going to be 700 gold value. So it's still pretty good when you stack it up compared to a lot of other runes out there are not going to be nearly that valuable. So I think it'll still be good. And that doesn't include the lifesteal that you get. So Conquer deals 8% of pre-mitigation damage, 15% of post-mitigation damage against champions. Now, is that always, or is that when it's fully stacked? Okay, it has this part scaled out as well, the full stacks. They should not have X'd this out. They should have just X'd this part out. Because I think it does still mean it max stacks, not just permanently. It can't mean permanently, because 15% like Spell Vamp and Lifesteal all the time would be pretty OP. So yeah, I think this means when it's max stacked. So then you're getting even more value out of it, probably like 1,000 gold value. So I think it'll still be good. Ezreal might like something like this, because you do have 8 seconds to trigger it. So as long as you're hitting a Q or an auto every 8 seconds, you can keep this charged up. You know, someone like Jax might still like this, although he might go to PTA. I think a lot of champs might just go to PTA, just for stronger burst. But there could still be some champs that would want something like this over time, especially ones that scale really hard with, like, flatline damage. So we'll see how it works out, but I think that's definitely going to be good news for the tanks, although other champs that have really good ratios might actually like Conquer a bit more. Okay, Aftershock. This is another really good nerf, and this is going to be another like huge punch to the face of bot lane tanks, because they're going to get hit the hardest because they're not going to be able to afford the same amount of resist that other tanks are going to get. And you might say, well, this nerf to Aftershock, isn't that going to nerf real tanks? Not really, because they're going to get a lot of bonus resist. So right now it's 80% bonus resists. So and it's bonus too. So it's not your flat line, your flat resist. So, you know, if you get to, what would it take? 100 resist would give you 125 total with the new version. 100 before would give you 120. So that's about the break point. It's pretty close. Once you get to 100 resists, bonus resists, then this new one's better. Now, that I believe that does not include your base armor. It's just bonus. Bonus resistances. Now, that does include your magic resist as well. So if you have 50 bonus magic resist and 50 bonus armor, then the new version is going to be better. So any combination of bonus armor and bonus magic resist that gets you to 100, it's going to be stronger in terms of resistances. That means in the mid game and the late game, it's going to be stronger on tanks. But in the early game, it's going to be a lot weaker. And that is huge, because now when Nautilus or Leona tries to all-in you, they're going to be missing, like, you know, 30 resists all of a sudden. And they're going to be a lot easier to kill, and they're going to do a lot less damage. So now it's not 4% of your maximum health, it's 8% of your bonus health. So it's going to do almost nothing in the early game. No bonus damage, and you're losing the 15 flat. So versus the 4% of your maximum health was dealing an extra, you know, if you have like, you know, 700 health with your relic shield early game and your runes and things like that, you know, this is going to do 28 extra damage. So that would do, I guess that's actually pretty close. Well, not really. It would have done 38 in the old system, and now it does 25. So it's definitely, it's a nerf to the damage, and it's a nerf to the resistances. And I don't know what this means, slightly longer than intended. I mean, is that a half a second? Is that a quarter of a second? We don't know what that means. But it lasts less. So it lasts less time, it does less damage, and it gives you a lot less resistances early game. So I'm not saying, like, you know, Leona and Nautilus are just instantly going to get deleted when they go in, but I am saying that if you're used to them being completely invulnerable, they're going to take a rough trade back whenever they take Aftershock. So I think that's going to hurt Aftershock users a lot. And remember, they can't heal up as much either, because now Relic Shield doesn't heal them. So I think that's tough, and it's hard to buy like rejuve beads and things like that early on, because they don't build into anything. Typically, you have to build in, you have to start getting like Zeke's, which doesn't give you any regen. It doesn't give you a lot of health. You could go Knight's Vow early. Once again, doesn't give you regen. You can't really rush Locket, so you're going to get poked out a lot early. Unless you get an early Water Dragon, you're going to be in some trouble. So, yeah, I think that's a huge nerf. And then obviously it's going to be a nerf to the abuser, like the squishy champions that abuse this. So anything that used this in the past, you know, if we're thinking about like Lissandra, Lux, anything else that's been trying to use this recently. Fiddlesticks was trying to use this some. Anything that's really squishy that's trying to use this to abuse the flat resist. It's not happening anymore. So I think that's great. This is how it should have always been. I think this was almost literally how it got released. I'm actually curious. I know we're over time, but I actually want to look at this because I think this is how it got released. Almost exactly, because I think it used to be 20 seconds. It used to be mostly bonuses. So they've taken it like full circle all the way back to the beginning, I believe. 20-second cooldown. Deals, okay, 3.5 of your max health. Plus 40 to 140. Okay, so that was way stronger. That would have done a lot. That would have done like 60 or 70 damage. So now it's going to be doing 25. So that's a big nerf from where it got released, I guess. And it did 20, 20, and then 30% of your total armor. Okay, so it was of your total armor and total magic resist, but what it gave you was a bonus. So it was 30% of total, which would be way better in the early game versus bonus. So it was stronger on release, although it's the same type of paradigm where it scales a lot more but has a lot less flat. So anyways, good move. So once again, it's going to really hurt the early game tanks, but later game tanks will probably still be okay with it. And tanks that don't use Aftershock, like Mundo, are really going to benefit from this. And there are some tanks that can use Guardian as well. And you might see tanks just go to Guardian anyways after this. You know, Thresh is pretty good with Guardian. You know, you've gotten that in the past with him. But it's going to be rough potentially. Okay, and then they're changing Presence of Mind to where it restores 20% of your maximum mana or energy. So you can get up to 500 extra mana. So tier users might like this. So maybe someone like Ezreal, you know, if Ezreal goes Conquer, then he could go Presence of Mind and get 500 extra mana, which could be pretty good. Was that using an ult does that?
Yeah. Or is it Towie Cheese?
And then you get up to 50 extra. What is it, Rory? What is it?
It's a Towie Cheese.
You want what?
It's a Towie Cheese.
What is that?
It's a Towie Cheese. It's a Towie Cheese.
I don't know what you're saying, Rory.
Are you saying you want Tumbleweed, please?
Are you wanting Tumbleweed, please?
It's a Towie Cheese.
I don't know what that is, Rory.
It's a Towie Cheese.
I think you figure out what it is. I gotta finish this.
Sounds like I want to visit Tumbleweed, please.
No, it's I want a something, please. What is it?
It's a Towie Cheese. It's a Towie Cheese.
You want Tumbleweed?
No, it's not Tumbleweed. It's I want to
Here.
say it a different way, Rory.
It's a Towie Cheese. It's a Towie Cheese.
What is it?
I want to
You want to sit
visit
up here?
Tumbleweed is what I'm
You want to sit up here, Rory?
What else is that?
Okay, anyway, so this might be interesting on someone like, would Zed could maybe take this as a secondary. Some energy champs might like this. It's kind of a novelty. I don't know how much they would like 50 extra energy. It's going to depend on your rotation and what you're trying to do. Is that right, your little baby? Maybe a collie or something?
Sit here.
Oh, you're not sit here? Oh, you're not going to sit there, huh? Are you, Rory? No, she's not. She's done.
It's a Towie Cheese.
I don't know what that is, Rory.
It's a
We'll
Towie
figure it out here in a
Cheese.
second.
Mr. Tumbleweed? Rory, we're not sure what you're saying.
We're not
I'm
sure what you're
sorry.
saying, Rory.
I'm sorry.
You got to say it a different way.
My Towie Cheese.
Are you wanting... I don't know what it is.
Towie.
Oh, you do want
Tumbleweed.
Tumbleweed. Okay, Mommy can give you Tumbleweed.
Rory, we can turn on Tumbleweed.
No.
TV.
No.
So, anyways, Nimbus Cloak is now on
Daddy,
Summoner cast.
Daddy will come in.
So
a
when you
minute.
cast a Summoner, you get extra movement speed. I
Daddy's
don't know if
working.
that's going to matter.
Daddy's working.
Is
You
that
want
going
me
to... I mean, maybe with Ignite,
Okay.
you gain speed. I mean, obviously, like, you would double down with Ghost. 35% movement speed. I mean, maybe I'm just not thinking big enough on this. So if you, like... If you teleport in with Cannon or something, I mean, 15% movement speed's not that much, though, early on. I don't know. I mean, maybe somebody's going to like this. Thinking, like, Recon with some Unsealed Spellbook or something. Because you would have a lot more summoners. So maybe you could combine this with Unsealed Spellbook. Seems like a stretch. But that would give you more summoners, so you would have a lot more movement speed. Rakan would really like the movement speed. So you could just, like, use Ghost or just roll up and, like, cleanse or flash in. Get the movement speed. I mean, maybe... what else would you take? Transcendence? Guess you could take, like, Unsealed and try to go down to Transcendence. You'd be giving up Guardian, though. I don't know. I guess you could just run it with, like, Ignite or something, you know. If you do Ionian Boot so that you have more summoners faster or something like that. And then you could run Nimbus plus... Because you can't use Presence of Mind anymore, so maybe now you just run Nimbus plus, like, Transcendence or Celerity or something. I don't know. I'm sure it'll be really good in certain circumstances, but it'll probably be pretty niche. Anyways, that's it for this video. I know it's been a long video, so thank y'all very much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Tons of stuff going on. Like I said, I'm going to research this, talk with some people on stream a little bit more, and then I'm going to do the tier list where I'm going to break down, you know, put a lot of this stuff into practice and tell you which champions I think are going to be strong over the next patch. And then every time a new patch comes out, they're going to probably have a lot of changes during the preseason. I'll keep you updated with what I think is currently strong, but... Anyways, that's going to be it. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Come out, check out the stream sometime. We'd love to have you. It starts around 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every night on YouTube. And I'll see you then. Have a great day.